Championship leadership would be people who have a vision and are able to express that vision in a very, it doesn't have to be concise way, but a very logical way to have people, a logical way in which people can help and follow them, help them reach it and follow them and help them along the way.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, Championship Leadership Podcast. And today we got Cindy Dunston Quirk with us, and with Scout and Zoe's is the name of her company. She's being highlighted on TV show Boom America, starring one of the original Shark Tank members, Kevin Harrington, and I get to be a part of that as well as part of the A team. But excited to have you here, Cindy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I do ask one question I like to ask a lot to all my guests, because the name of the podcast is Championship Leadership. So what comes to mind for you, or what do you hear when you, what does that mean to you when you hear championship leadership?
Well, having had my share of crappy bosses, I like to think that championship leadership is ethical, moral, beyond reproach.
Yeah.
If you make mistakes, you admit them and kind of move on, because I mean, I don't assume that I know I'm not the font of all knowledge, and I don't know everything. I surround myself with people who do, but very championship leadership would be people who have a vision and are able to express that vision in a very, it doesn't have to be concise way, but a very logical way to have people, a logical way in which people can help and follow them, help them reach it and follow them and help them along the way.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, I love that. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company's Scout and Zoe's, and what you guys are up to, and maybe even a little bit of the journey and the path that got you there, and how you are where you are today and what you're up to today.
Lots of questions.
know.
I think I can remember them. I'm Southern by birth. Well, that's not true. I was born in Oklahoma, but I grew up in the South, in the deep South, in the Jimmy Carter South. So condolences to the Carter family on the passing of Miss Rosalind. She was a wonderful woman. But I grew up down there, and at a very early age, we had dogs. And so they've been an integral part of my life forever. And figured out that I live in central Indiana now, but figured out when I was 51 that the answer to my employment woes was sitting or laying at the end of the bed. And Zoe had allergies, and by the time I got around to figuring out what to do about him, we had Scout, and he also had allergies. So I was hell-bent on figuring out a way to make them comfortable while giving them something to chew on. And that's how Scout and Zoe started.
Love it.
And having had a forever background in sales, I was able to, develop a product in a very short period of time. From the time I had the idea to the time it went to market was only 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So I was driven to find a solution, and 2 weeks is you hear of entrepreneurs saying they had these brain dumps. And that was what it was for a couple of days. I put it out. I just stayed up for about 48 hours, putting everything on paper. And I thought, okay, well, our first products were elk antler dog chews, and found a source for them locally, which there aren't many elk in Indiana. So I really had to search. But that turned out to be, and the first sales that I had were to deer hunters that had antlers on their walls, but I sold them pieces of antlers for their dogs to chew on. So I thought that was pretty clever. So that's where that background in sales came in really handy.
Yeah.
But that started me down the road. And then when the Chinese chicken jerky started killing a lot of pets, that's when I had my line in the sand and said, okay, well, we're going to develop treats now, because I'd been thinking about it. And those did so well. Those first 3 did so well that by the end of the year, I was bringing in kangaroo and venison and duck, some really unusual proteins that dogs tend not to be allergic to. And that was in way back in 2010 when I started the company. And now, all these many years later, what you see on the wall is just a small smattering of the products that we have. So I went from 5 SKUs to over 100 SKUs in 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And we have, I am the queen of body parts. So it's kind of like a morgue back here, just a little bit, with body parts for dogs. And then our specialty is novel proteins or unusual or alternative proteins to beef and chicken, like kangaroo, and sustainable proteins like insects like black soldier fly larvae. We were first to market with that for the pet industry in 2019. And way back in, I want to say 2017, Asian carp. And those, if you're
Wow.
not familiar with Asian carp, those are the carp or the fish that jump out of the water and hit boaters in the
Yeah,
face.
yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, I've
And
seen
yeah,
videos
so
of that.
they're really invasive. They don't have any natural predators, and but they're really tasty for dogs.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
we're turning disaster into delicious with those, and taking insects, which are the next the protein of the future, not for me, but for
Yeah,
many, but for dogs and cats and horses and pigs and ducks and chicken and birds. It's a great protein
very
because
cool.
it's very sustainable.
Yeah. What's how large has your company grown into from back in 2010 and just that idea to where you are today?
Well, we've grown from just being a local company to having a global footprint. So we ship product to Japan and Hong Kong and Shanghai. And I leave for Dubai in a week
Oh,
to
wow.
find some distributors there and start let the Middle East pets have a taste of our treats.
Very cool. Very cool. What kind of dogs uh were Scout and Zoe?
Scout was a German short hair pointer, very lovely athletic dog. He passed away in 2021 from cancer. So he's just been gone a couple of years. Zoe was a German Shepherd, black and tan German Shepherd, and she passed away in 2014.
Okay.
But what a legacy. What
Yeah,
a
right.
legacy.
No kidding.
Yeah. And now
Very
we have
cool.
Ziva, who is a black German Shepherd. She's 7.5. And Lucy and Jake, who are 11-month-old German short hair pointers. So we have our
Oh,
hands full right now.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I grew up with all kinds of dogs. My mom and my sister are very big dog people and breeders and American Water Spaniels and now English setters, showing dogs and things like that. And actually, you look very similar to my mom
How
as
about
well.
that?
But when my favorite, like my number one dog, like my dog growing up was named Scout also. So this is very interesting.
Sweet.
So much so
That's
that
a great name.
yeah, great name. I actually named another dog of mine Scout, kind of in remembrance of the original Scout. So interesting connections there. Well, tell me a little bit about who are some people, some leaders, some coaches or mentors that you've had that maybe have inspired you, characteristics of them that have stood out to you, that maybe have helped mold you as a leader and a business owner, and what you do today.
I think my original mentors would be my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy was the consummate salesperson.
Yeah.
He could sell ice to Eskimos. I mean,
Yeah.
he was wonderful at what he did, and I was sort of the son he never had. I'm the middle of 3 girls, so
Okay.
I swear like a pirate, and I was the tomboy, and I still
Yeah.
kind of am, but I still swear like a pirate. In fact, I'm hopeful I can not swear during our time together today, but if I do, I do.
Yeah,
So,
no worries. Yeah.
but I'd say my dad was a big influence on how I'm able to talk to people and have that sales orientation. But my mom was really she was a nurse in the operating room. She was a surgical nurse for 60 some odd years, and she had a wicked sense of humor and was a woman of small stature, but she packed a big wallop if you got in her way.
Sure.
She was a wonderful friend, but she could be very, very fierce if you were
Yeah.
on the other side. And that wicked sense of humor plays in really well. So my parents originally were my best mentors. And then beyond that, in the pet industry, there have been a few. One was a local businessman here who had a pet kennel company. And he, in the very, very early days of Scout and Zoe's, helped me make some connections and kind of direct me the right way.
Yeah.
And then another mentor would be a woman by the name of Candace Dagnolo, who has an entity called Pet Boss Nation. And she was a retailer and knew that side of it, but she sold her stores at a very healthy profit to some buyers, and then started consulting. And her insight had really, really helped me at a time when I really needed it. And now my conversations with my husband are totally different than before I owned a company. He's an entrepreneur as well. So they've gone from what did you do today at work to how would you, this is what happened to me. How would you have handled this?
Sure.
Or,
Right.
I've got this problem. Can you help me walk through it?
Yeah.
Since both of my parents are gone, I can't ask them for advice anymore. But there's one more mentor, my brother-in-law, Paul, who he's, I think he's 7 years older than I am. And he's been around since I was a wee pup. It's almost as long as I could imagine.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. He was around before I wore a bra, so it was really a long time. It was really a long time. But he's a very quiet man. He's if you know him, he's really got a great sense of humor, and he's a wealth of knowledge. But you have to ask him for advice, because he won't just give it to you.
Yeah.
But when you ask him, you should be prepared for him to say, what it is instead of what you think you want to hear.
Yeah, sure. I love that.
He's a wonderful resource. And when I get stuck, especially since, I don't see them very often, and I talk to him on a fairly regular basis, but I can call him up and any time of day or night, ask him if something's bothering me. I can ask him. And if I were in a jam, I know that I could call down there and say, help. And he would drop everything and do that.
Yeah.
That's a very short list.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great to have those people in your life too. What I assume this is, a full-time thing for you from the sounds of it. How long did it take to go from, like you said, that idea to 2 weeks later, you had a product to making this, the full-time venture for yourself?
A couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though we were profitable early on, because I had a real tight control. I mean, that business background was just so useful. That accounting really did come in handy.
Yeah.
Despite what I thought, I really resisted it, but it did come in handy. But it took a couple of years, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've bootstrapped everything. I don't have any investors, so I'm kind of the poster person for microloans from an entity here in town. I've had 7 or 8 microloans, but paid them all back. But it is a full-time endeavor, and it's a handful.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's great. What was the connection with Boom America, and what's the goal for you guys being a part of this show, and what you're looking to do there to help continue to promote what it is you're doing?
Well, I knew Bob, the producer, before Boom America was an idea. And when I heard about it, I started thinking, it's like, wait a minute, why would I want to give you leads for companies when I could be a company? And the goal is to sell as much shit as possible.
Yeah.
See, I knew it would come up sooner or later.
That's right.
But the goal for me has been global domination. To be as big as I can be, or big as the company can be, because pets are everywhere, and we're not the only country in the world that treats their pets like family.
Yeah.
So if I can become to pet wellness what Cesar Millan is to pet training. Do you know who Cesar Millan is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most everybody knows who he is. Whether or not you agree with him is a whole nother story.
Sure.
But everybody knows who he is. And I want Scout and Zoe's to be that well known.
Yeah.
Because we have wonderful treats. We have wonderful products that transcend cultural boundaries. You know, we have something for everybody, just about, or for every pet. And the goal is to get as much of this into the mouths of deserving pets globally. That's the global domination. So that's the goal, is to scale and to be as big as we can be, so that somebody comes along and makes me a really crazy offer and I accept it and then do something else in the pet industry. But
yeah. Well, great. I mean, you just basically answered my next question, which was really, the vision of what you're looking to do, because I think, you know, championship leaders, they have incredible vision and courage to take action on it. And clearly you've done all that. Yeah. Global domination. That's pretty big.
it's huge. And I think that I know I would not have started this had I didn't know that it had a lot of legs and could go really far down the field. For a football analogy, I mean, it just, most everybody loves their pets. Somebody who shops at Walmart and buys Old Roy is not my customer.
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you go to Whole Foods and you pay, you know, $7 or $8 for a gallon of milk in a glass container,
Yeah.
you're a customer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But so is the grandma who, you know, spends her last dollar on a treat for her dog.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's the same. The love is the same whether you make $11 million or $11,000. It's the same love, and that's what we're trying to capture, is that we celebrate the pet human bond, the companion animal human bond, and we want to give pets the longest, happiest lives that they can have with the families who love them. And if Boom America can help me scale this and do that, then it's a win for everybody.
Yeah. Well, what have been, because I know there's plenty, what would have been some of the, well, I don't know, pitfalls or challenges and obstacles along this journey you've been on that have really helped you to grow and get better?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. That's a very loaded question. In the early days, it was pretty much logistics, because it's a moving target, you know, shipping costs, and they still are, because you just, you know, right now everybody's tacked on surcharges for the holidays. So you may think that free shipping is free. Well, it's not, because it's built the price. It always is. Somebody pays for it. And when carriers, you know, threaten to go on strike, then everybody in my shoes is sitting back going, oh crap, don't let that hit the fan during the holiday season. So that's a moving target. During not during COVID, but after COVID in 2022, sourcing became an issue.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was huge, and continues to be a kind of a thorn in the side, because every now and then we'll not be able to find something that we need. So I'll have to be resourceful and figure out another way to do it, which is like I don't have enough in my day to do that. Capital is always an issue, because this is a very capital intensive business. We have to have the inventory on hand, or else we can't sell it. So that is a huge obstacle, challenge, opportunity. It's all of the above. Then personnel, that's another one too, because without the right personnel, you know, I'm not able to leave the office or go to trade shows or on field visits with stores or meet and greets. So that's personnel is a gigantic challenge for most entrepreneurs, because people, unfortunately, during COVID, got used to staying home and being rewarded for it. And I've worked straight for 3 years. I've not taken a vacation. I worked in 2020 and 2021. I worked straight through, because I was not going to stop unless somebody dragged me out of the warehouse. I mean, I worked by myself to get orders out, and I was determined to do it. And we had 2 of the best years ever in the company. But, it's difficult to have somebody have that kind of drive, because no one ever would replicate my work ethic. But I think businesses across the nation are feeling that pinch because small businesses especially, you know, aren't able to pay $25 or $30 an hour with benefits. So
Yeah.
it's a big bone of contention and a big challenge, because if you don't have the employees, then you have to wear all the hats.
Right. Yeah.
That's a little, I feel like a juggler a lot of the days, because I've got so many hats on. It's like, okay, you're yelling the loudest. Let me put that hat on and solve that. So it's like,
Right.
okay, throw that over there and put on another hat and do something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's,
Well,
but on the other side, it's I don't want to paint this horrible picture. I don't want to say that that is exciting, but there is a certain amount of satisfaction is the right word, to know, to sit back and go, okay, well, that shipment went out, it was received well, it's selling. That's good. Everything
yeah.
is fine. And at the end of the day, it's like, did I do my best? Okay, then I can close my eyes, lay my head on the pillow, and have a good night's sleep.
Sure. Yeah. How big of a team do you have? How many employees do you have?
Right now, it's only 3. So we run this company with 3 people, or I run this company with 3 people, so including myself. So we are very
Yeah.
much, we seem larger than we are, but with scaling comes, you know, you have to have personnel. So at some point, we'll have 30 or 40 people working here.
Yeah. Are you available on Amazon?
We are
Oh,
direct to consumer. Yep, we're
okay.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Feels like just about everybody is. So
You have to. Yeah, it's not that you have to be, but
yeah.
there's 2 schools of thought with that. The retailers hate it
Right.
because Amazon and Chewy they're big bones of, they're big thorns. They're just huge
Yeah.
thorns. But people now are used to shopping online. They're used to the instant gratification. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I can order a product on Amazon and it's delivered during the night.
Yeah.
So
It's
when I wake up, it's at
amazing.
my door.
Yeah.
And we've just done the fulfilled by Amazon, so we're available on Prime
Okay.
on a few of our products. So we're making it easier for the consumer to get to us,
Yeah.
especially in areas where we don't have stores, because
Mhm.
while we'd love to be everywhere, you know, that person in the way northern tip of South Dakota may not have a dog
Yeah. Right.
store, so we have to be able to get to them, and Amazon's a way to do that.
Yeah. 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 Love it. What's switch trajectory just a little bit, but maybe you could think of a time in your life where, you know, it's kind of that critical moment where you got to make a decision. You did make the decision that you did, which has you where you are today, but had you not, you'd be in a very different place. You know, talking about the last 3 years, it's been difficult for people. A lot of people are in those moments today, and there's always power in hearing how some have chosen that moment when they're there themselves trying to figure out which way to go. Is there a moment that comes to mind for you could share?
During COVID, I had a gigantic order. It was 10,000 bags of product.
Wow.
And I could not find anybody to help me do them. I could
Oh,
not find it. Even my husband didn't.
yeah.
He was, he's not worthless, but he was then. Because, yeah, he just didn't step up and say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to come and help you pack these. So I labeled them. I labeled the bags. I stuffed the bags. I sealed the bags. I packed them in cartons. I got this gigantic order out. I worked almost night and
Wow.
day for a week to get this
Wow.
done. In fact, I kind of have permanent tenderness in one of my hands because of it. But
Wow.
I was determined to rise to the occasion and make it happen, because I mean that you have to. There's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
one of those occasions. They're all the time.
Yeah.
They just
Right.
don't necessarily have that kind of revenue attached to them, or that kind of significance attached to them. But I was bound and determined that this big customer this shipment was not gonna be late. It was
Yeah.
gonna be on time. It was gonna be fulfilled in full, and I made
Uh-huh.
it happen. So it showed me that not only am I resilient and
Yeah.
resourceful, that I have the chutzpah to
Yeah.
have big cojones to
Yes.
make it happen. And I did. I
I love
absolutely
that.
made it happen.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. As we wrap this up, is, you know, if there's one or two things you could give to the listener that if they were to implement today would help move their life forward today, what could that be?
That's a good question. You know, a lot of people, especially business owners, you know, tell folks who are thinking about starting a business, I mean, whether it's a side hustle or something else, that you need to follow your passion or follow your dream. Yeah, it's good advice to a point, but you have to make sure that it's something that is what the public would want. And this didn't, it didn't come around by accident. On the other hand, it wasn't carefully planned out either, because I kind of shot from the hip on a lot of stuff. So intuition goes a long way. Having your ear to the ground and street smarts. We do a lot of in-kind donations because we're not to a point now where I feel comfortable donating tons of money because we turn it back into inventory. We do that for some things, and I did start a foundation for the funding for canine cancer called Scouting for the Cure. But if you're gonna, no matter if it's starting a business or, you know, figuring out which way to go with your kids, when you have difficult conversations to come around that need to be expressed, I think you have to kind of sit back and view it from a different point of view, not through your own eyes, but almost through an observer. It's like, okay, what's the optics of this? How is it going to be received? What state is the person in that's going to receive it? What state am I in for being able to deliver it? And make those decisions to where they're the best that you can do at the time that you're making them.
Yeah.
Whether it's talking to your kids or figuring out a business, but following that dream and that passion, that's great advice on the surface, but that's like that iceberg that the Titanic didn't see. You know, it's just that little thing on the top that all this other stuff you have to consider. I think intuition is the biggest thing I have going for me, to be able to read a situation, but for getting back around to the point, listening to your gut, looking at past experiences, but not necessarily replicating them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, you have to, I used to be somebody who would just, and I still do, I make quick decisions, but they're a little bit more tempered as I age, because I don't want to have to reverse them in very short order. I want the decision to be done. And then if situations dramatically change, we can modify what we've done. But if they don't change, then the decision's done and we're past that, we'll go on to something else. But for myself, and I think for a lot of people, when they sit back and look at it, that you have to be comfortable with the knowledge that you have and let intuition come into it just a little bit, and not beat yourself up if it's just if things didn't turn out like you thought it would, because you can always, it's not written in stone. You can always back up a little bit and move forward, and moves to the side laterally, and then say, okay, we've changed this. Now we can move forward some more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to mention one more thing.
Yeah, please.
One more thing, and let's see if I can find one. Yep, I love this. You'll love this too. Our very first products were antler dog chews. And this is not an antler dog chew. This is a bird perch, but you'll love this. I have some more out in the lobby, but we do these almost like baseball trading cards. We call them Tales of Exceptional Canines, or dog lore cards.
Okay.
And we award these, like this particular one is for Target.
Okay.
Target was a German Shepherd. He was 1.5 years old, and he lived in Phoenix, Arizona. But Target was an Afghanistan dog. And the front page is all of the statistics like a baseball player card.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
backstory is over here, where Target was an Afghani dog that the soldiers in the U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan had
Yeah.
adopted Target. And he was shot at, and there were explosives around, and I just have to read this because I'm not going to do it
Yeah,
justice.
please.
Late one February night, Target and her pals, Sasha and Rufus, confronted a suicide bomber approaching the barracks. The trio alerted the U.S. troop family of approaching danger and attacked the bomber. The bomber then detonated his explosives in the doorway of the building. Had the canine companions not been present, the bomber would have killed every soldier in the building that fateful night. Target and Rufus survived the blast. Sasha did not. Their heroic efforts saved 50 soldiers from harm. Following the attack, Target and Rufus, having more than earned their stripes, were treated as members of the platoon. Through the many efforts of so many, Target and Rufus were brought to the United States to live out their lives with soldiers who they had saved in Afghanistan. For this act of bravery, complete selflessness, and dedication to those she regarded as family, Target is awarded posthumously the Scout and Zoe's Dog Lore Exceptional Canine Award. Thank you, Target. Godspeed, little angel.
Oh, wow.
We have so many stories like that.
Wow.
Of soldier dogs, of military working dogs, of police dogs, of family dogs, saving their families from burning buildings,
Yeah.
Dogs guiding state troopers in Alaska to burning buildings. And there's video of that, but I love doing this because these animals are so much more intelligent and clever.
Yeah.
And loving and adoring of us than we will ever realize.
Yeah.
That they knew, this trio knew that their family was in harm's way and did everything that they could to save them.
Isn't that amazing? So what do you do with those then?
They're inside the packages.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on, I have to go get this antler so you can go see it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So that's a dog. That was a bird. And this is one of the antler packages. So we put them in, with the packages. So so it makes them a little bit sexier. If antler dog chews can be sexy. We tried to do it, and it's just something to give it a little bit more interest. And I think that those stories are amazing, and they are all over the place. So we do a lot. I love to recognize military working dogs because they don't get enough credit for what they do, because they put themselves in harm's way every day.
Yeah.
And then for police dogs, canine units, because there were a couple here, Magnum and Kilo, who were killed in the line of duty. And they're just fabulous dogs, and they are all in our antler dog chew packages.
Neat. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. What's the best way? I know you have a website, of course, and I don't know if you're on social media at all.
We are. So the website is scoutandzoes.com. So it's Scout like a Boy Scout, and ANDZOES.com. We're on Amazon. You can find us on Amazon. And then on social media, it's Scout and Zoe's, all spelled out, run together, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah, we'll get those linked up if you're just listening here and or watching. Get those linked up so that they're easy to access. But thanks, Cindy, for being here. This was really awesome. I loved it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it too. Thanks.